is global. That is very different from the image in which man is defined as bounded by his skin. That's a prejudice. We think now, for example, I have my own private thoughts. Well, nobody has private thoughts. Because one thinks in images and words, and images are derived from the whole thought structure of the society we live. We think thoughts. The domain of mind is very similar to the grid structure of an electric power supply system. You know, what happens is there's a network of power stations and transformers so arranged that if one of them gives out and fails to supply a certain area, immediately the grid connects them with other sources of power. Well, in rather a similar way, our minds are connected. Let's take one very obvious example of it. What Northrop Frye calls the order of words. The order of words is all existing literature. Both rhetoric, what is spoken, of course, and what is written down. Now, it's his theory that as a scholar of literature and the history of literature, he can take any piece of writing of a length and tell you when it was written. Because everything that is written or said is inescapably related to order of words. And it's amazing what little things you might not notice give you away. Because he can say, well, obviously he has read this, thinking, say, of a particular novelist or poet. So it must come to the date when that novel was published. But he couldn't possibly use a version like that to say, for example, that it was a capital day. He would never use that expression in contemporary 20th century America. That's a Victorianism, or it's an Indian way of talking. And so by all sorts of little tools that the scholar can pin down a piece of writing to when it was written. That is because every individual piece of writing is a function of the writing that's being done. Well, now that's a very specific and almost crude illustration of something that's going on in a far more complicated way than that. It isn't only all writing, all is being done in relation to the total order of thought. And in a still more subtle way, all living is being done in relation to the total order of life, which Rodin calls the biosphere, and it goes way beyond that, because of the vast interplay of what we now call gravitational and electrical fields, which embrace everything that there is. That is why the ancients, when a person was born, cast his horoscope. It was a map of the universe at the time of that person's birth, and therefore it was a drawing of his soul, because the soul is inside the body is inside the soul. The soul, your soul, is the whole universe as it is focused upon your organism. Now, of course, astrology is a very primitive science, and it interpreted the influence of the universe upon the individual in very crude ways, and it works mostly by good guesswork on the part of the astrologer. If you know how to tell fortunes at a fair, you will find out about how all these predictive psychic sciences work, because the client invariably gives himself away, either by anxiety to be told the truth or by his anxiety to conceal it. Work equally well. But there is, you see, underneath the astrological notion, the idea that the true map of the soul is the picture of the universe surrounding the individual. It isn't necessarily your soul is not the picture of the universe just at the when you were born, you see. It goes along all the time you live, because the whole thing expresses itself through you. And therefore, in that sense, the map of the stars, the horoscope, etc.,